What's going on, everybody? Before we get into this video, I want to let you guys know that Chill Series number 25 is coming up next Wednesday. This is going to be the biggest, baddest Chill Series of all time. We have 200 Battle Styles packs in the prize pool, 100% free entry, but on top of that, we have a 2011 Tropical Beach, which will be given to the first place winner of our tournament next Wednesday. Again, big shout out to the Filthy Goat for sponsoring this next upcoming tournament with the Tropical Beach. He's a really great guy. Definitely go check him out on Twitter at the Filthy Goat. And make sure that you check out the description down below and go register for Chill Series number 25 Tropical Beach. It's going to be absolutely insane. All right, let's get into the video. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Matty here from Chill TCG. So we just wrapped up the biggest Chill Series of all time. Chill Series number 24, sponsored by Card Cavern. We had 400 players in this tournament. It was Battle Styles legal, the first Battle Styles format tournament of Chill Series, right? So definitely an absolutely fantastic outcome. The tournament went extremely well, went very smooth. We had tons of great players. So I just want to thank everybody who came out and played. Today we're going to be taking a look at the top 16 deck lists from this massive 400-player tournament. Before we get into it, I'm going to cover just a few things about the tournament for those who don't know, or for those who weren't able to play in it. So before we look at the metagame, I want to let you guys know that we had a couple bounties in place for this tournament for Corviknight VMAX and Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. Now, if any player got top 8 with either of these decks, they got an extra 50 Battle Styles packs. We'll see in a minute if any of them did make top 8, but this skewed the meta just slightly. And I do understand that once you put in bounties, the meta is going to change. It's going to be a little bit less organic. And I understand that. It was just something that we wanted to test out. Not 100% sure if we'll do it again. But if we, as we go and look at the metagame, just keep that in mind. So if we take a look at the metagame, the most played deck with just under 15% meta share was ADP. Nothing too crazy there, about 60 of them in the tournament. But number 2, in terms of on the meta share, was 45 Single Strike Urshifu VMAXs. So you can kind of see how the bounties influenced that quite a bit. About 11% of those guys. And then at 32, at third, was Victini VMAX, 8% there. Next up, we had Rapid Strike Urshifu at 30. Which was 8% of the meta share, or 7.5%. And then after that, we had Corviknight with 27. Dragonbolt, straight Dragonbolt, with about 5.5%. 20 other decks, which a lot of times people were kind of doing lists with Welder, I believe, that fell into the other category, or Corviknight, right? Bronze Long Box, Corviknight, all that kind of stuff fell under the other category for the most part. A lot of those decks did. And then we had 18 Centiskorch, 18 Blounds, so these were pretty even, which I think is really funny. Very similar lists. Just Welder in general was very popular. 14 Mad Party, 12 Welder Mewtwo, and we actually had 10 Dragonbolt Urshifu. So I kind of like to add this on top of the Dragonbolt and Rapid Strike Urshifu. If you do that, we had 60 people playing those two archetypes combined. We had 8 Eternatus, 6 Pikarum, 6 LMZ, some Colossals and Teleons. If we scroll down, though, there's a lot of different decks that people were playing in this tournament. This meta is very diverse, very healthy. We even had some Tapu Kokos in there. We had a couple Decidueyes. That'll be important in a little bit as we look forward. Blastoise, Flapple. What do we got down here? Salazzle, Weeping Bell. We got the Crobat down here. Gardevoir. Somebody watched my Gardevoir video and played my list, which was really funny. They did go 1-4, unfortunately, but yeah, very funny. Very funny for sure. So this was the metagame, which, I don't think that this metagame is very similar to some of the other tournaments that we had so far in the Battle Styles format, but, definitely interesting nonetheless. And I think it was pretty evenly spaced, right, in the top sort of echelon here. It was a very evenly spaced tournament. And spoiler, like the 2 decks that made it to finals were some of the least played decks in the tournament. So that's another interesting thing to note. But now let's do it. Let's go straight into it. We're going to take a look at the top 16 deck lists. At number 16, we're going to be starting off with Robert Hines here. Now, this was actually our highest placing Single Strike Urshifu list of the tournament. So we didn't have a Single Strike Urshifu make top 8, but Robert Hines did make top 16 with this list. And I'm actually just super excited to take a look because we have a bunch of new archetypes, a bunch of new deck lists that we don't typically get to cover on the channel here. We have it here in this video. So we're going to be taking a look at number 16, Robert Hines, went 10-4, playing Single Strike Urshifu from the US. Let's take a look at Robert Hines' list. Awesome. So this is there's a few things in here that are a little bit interesting, but for the most part, people are playing Single Strike Urshifu kind of all in the same sort of way, right? They're definitely running the Houndoom engine, right? That's the main consistent way that we're going to be able to put these energies onto Single Strike Urshifu because its attack cost, of course, is high. It's got 4 energy attack cost, does massive damage. but it takes a lot of energy to attack, so we definitely need a consistent way to put energies onto that Urshifu. Houndoom is the best option of choice at the moment. We're running, of course, 4 single strike energies in the deck and a high count of Urn of Vitalities to shuffle those back into the deck. Once we use the attack, they get discarded, right? So that's important to note. So we had a 4-3 lineup of Urshifus, 4-3 of Houndoom. He did have 1 Crobat in the deck, 1 Dedenne GX, and 1 Tyranitar. Tyranitar is very interesting. The single strike energies do work with Tyranitar. It's also a good counter for those psychic type decks. Things like Dragonbolt, you can, if you get the 4 energies on Tyranitar, you are one-shotting Dragonbolt VMAX, so that's, pretty important. I think that makes the deck list, have a little bit better of a coverage overall, which I think is pretty cool. Tyranitar isn't necessarily a great Pokemon, but the Houndooms make that energy attachment a little bit more consistent, and being a dark type, I think it's a good inclusion in the deck for sure. We ran a Jirachi GX. Now, most of the Urshifu decks are running Jirachi. This is mainly just because to eliminate those psychic weaknesses. It's pretty easy to play things like, Mewtwo, Dragapults, even Gardevoir to really counter these decks hard. So Jirachi GX eliminates your psychic weakness, and I think that's pretty important in the deck for sure. So most of them you'll see are running that Jirachi GX. And then he had a Mew in here to protect his bench, probably mostly for Rapid Strike Urshifu. Without Mew, they can really kind of dominate you in this matchup. Just the ability to hit 120 to 2 of your benched Pokemon. That means that they can kind of KO both of your Houndooms and put you in a spot where you're just manually attaching every turn. So that's definitely important. And that's the Pokemon lineup for this list. He's got the 4 Research, 4 Marnie, 3 Boss. Pretty standard supporter lineup. Nothing too crazy. 4 Pokeball, 3 Pokecoms, nothing crazy. Like I said, 3 Switches, 3 Urn of Vitalities, and 2 Air Balloons. So Air Balloon was kind of the pivot. It was like, the way that he was able to consistently get a double switch in, things like that. Air Balloon gives most of your Pokemon free retreat, excluding Urshifu VMAX here and Tyranitar VMAX. Everything else, Air Balloon does give it free retreat. And he's only running 1 Scroll of Scorn, which I find personally interesting. This tool card is phenomenal with Urshifu. So, of course, if you don't know, it's just a 1 energy attack. It's a tool card that you attach to Urshifu and gives him that extra attack. You can also attach it to Tyranitar. It does 10 damage plus as many damage counters you have on you, and Urshifu has 330 HP, so it's a very good option for low energy attack cost to have some big damage output, and it's definitely an important card in the deck. Interesting that he's only running 1 because he does have 1 Memory Capsule as well, and I believe this is probably, and it's actually very smart, it's to use that first attack, or maybe first or second attack from the Rapid Strike, the Single Strike Urshifu V, because the first attack there accelerates more energies to the Urshifu. You search your deck for energies and attach it, which is really good. But the third attack is 180 for 3, and then you can't use the attack next turn. So it's a very good option, right? Considering how even with the single strike energies, you're probably increasing the damage output. Sometimes you're going, up to 220, 240 with that attack, which is actually crazy because it only takes 3 energies and it doesn't discard the energy. So actually a very smart option here to run Memory Capsule with Urshifu VMAX. I think that was a very smart play with Robert Hines here. So he also had Tower of Darkness, 3 of them in the deck. Very important consistency card. You discard a single strike card from your hand, and you draw 2 cards, right? So this is going to be very, very good in the deck. We're running plenty of single strike Pokemon between, all of the Urshifus, the Tyranitar, the Energies, more Stadiums, the Urns. There's a lot of different cards that we can discard from our hand to draw some cards there. It's just a very good consistency card. And overall, he was running 10 Energies in the deck. What's interesting is he was running the 4 single strike Energies, but also 2 Stone Energies, which reduce the damage done to Urshifu, which actually could be definitely very clutch in the long run. So I like that, as well as 4 basics. So this is it's pretty typical in terms of single strike Urshifu, with a few things in here that I thought were a little bit interesting, but definitely awesome to see one of these Urshifu lists get top 16. I'm very excited, to talk about these lists like this, and I think that it was just super cool. So big shout out to Robert Hines. This might be a little bit of a longer video, just because we have a lot of new decks that I want to cover and talk about. Next up, though, he'd be up here. He's always up here. He's our boy Thomas Brophy at number 15, playing the good old Centiskorch VMAX, our second Centiskorch VMAX in top 16. We did have a few of them. Okay, all right. So it's pretty typical. It's a pretty typical T Brophy list. I don't really have anything else to say about it. I think the one thing that's different is he might have cut his Bird Keeper. I don't see Bird Keeper in here, but I do see a Karina's Focus, which might just be an extra consistency card in the deck. I'm not sure if he prefers this over Bird Keeper. He might have just been testing it out. He had a good run in the tournament. 15 out of 400 is not bad at all. But it's a little bit interesting. So maybe I'll just DM him. Maybe he'll comment on the video. Who knows if Karina's was preferred over Bird Keeper, or if he's might put Bird Keeper back in the deck. But yeah, everything is pretty standard here. I mean, Sanduscorch is still a very good deck in the format. We still have Welder. We still like to kind of go first or second sometimes, get that Halt Volcanion start, the Jirachi for consistency. We have the potential to one-shot Pokemon, VMAXs, tag teams. It's a very, very good deck list still, and definitely one of the best Welder decks that we can be running. We still have the Reshi's art in here. We're not running Cram, but that's pretty fine. The 2 Volcanions and the Reshi gives us a pretty decent Decidueye matchup for sure. We got the Mew in here as well. Mew might be a new inclusion, which I think is probably pretty important, actually. So he might have cut like Cram or a different card in his deck for a Mew. Mew's kind of become a staple now in the format, just with those Urshifus running around at peak still being played. Cramorant as well. So Mew's definitely a really, really good card to protect the your Pokemon on your bench. So I don't really have too much else to say about the Senti list. It's kind of just T Brophy's Senti list here in the new format. Nothing too different, nothing too crazy, but definitely Thomas is a great player and has had a lot of success with this list and probably will continue to have success going into the Battle Styles format. Okay, next up at number 14 we have Savage and Sun 33, 10-4 from the US. Now he's playing ADP Zacian. We had 4 ADP Zacians in the top cut. And ADP seems to be probably one of the best decks in the format again, still, however you want to say it. And there's a few reasons for that. One is because we're able to implement Mewtwo and Mew into ADP pretty seamlessly, and there wasn't really a reason to do this before, but now with all these fighting type Pokemon that are very powerful in the format, it just makes sense to put Mewtwo in the deck because it kind of fits pretty well, but gives us that super effective attack, against those fighting type Pokemon, right? So it just makes a lot of sense, and kind of makes the deck a little bit more consistent overall. Now, one thing that I do notice with his list in particular is that we are not seeing Escape Rope. Escape Rope is a fantastic inclusion from Battle Styles that makes ADP that much more consistent, that much better. So we do not see Escape Rope in the deck, but we do see 2 Great Catchers on top of 4 Boss, so he is running 6 different gusting options, as well as Eldegoss to get Boss out of the discard pile, so technically 7 gusting options in the deck, which is a really high count. I just do think that if you're playing ADP right now, I think the Mewtwo's smart. I think you put some Escape Ropes in there, makes the deck absolutely insane, and at the same time... And at the same time, we have access to the new things like Empoleon, which can definitely help in maybe the Victini matchup, right? Empoleon with the ADP boost does 160 times 2 for weakness is 320, and that will be enough to KO things like Victini and Sanduscorch, so keep that in mind. Empoleon might be a good inclusion in the deck for sure. But yeah, everything else in here is pretty standard. We do see 2 reset stamps, which is funny, but no hammers, just a max consistency ADP list here, and kind of a newer version of it. Although I would assume that most of the lists that we're going to see here in top 16 are running the Escape Rope. But, big shout out to Savage and Sun. Big shout out to Savage and Sun. Or whatever his real name is, I'm not sure. But, really, really great list. Next up, we have Caleb Patton. From the US here. 10-4, 13th. He was playing Blounce, which is just probably Crycephalon, which is still an incredibly powerful list in the format right now. A list that can easily implement Mew into it as well. It's a scoop-up net engine. We've got the 2 Cram, 2 Blounce, 2 Reshi. It's just Welder Box with a nice focus around these very, very good Welder attackers, right? That fit really well into Welder. Everything else is pretty standard. I mean, he's running a decently high count of energies, 4 Crystal, 4 Welder, 4 Hearth, so max, it's very much consistently getting those energies and potential. This is one of the best archetypes right now. I mean, the ability to just hit for 200 turn 2 or turn 1 going second and then finish it up with Flare Strike next turn is very good against VMAX Pokemon. And I just think that Blounce has the KO potential still. Cram, it's a little bit less good with everyone running Mew now, to be 100% honest with you, but still has a lot of potential and is definitely a viable option to run in these decks. So yeah, I mean, this is just basic Crycephalon. It's still very good in the format. I don't really have anything else to say. I don't notice anything too different about it, except for maybe a Mewtech, which might have already been there before. I honestly forget. But yeah, Crycephalon, it's still dirty. It's still ridiculous. Still one of the most powerful decks that we have right now in the format. So shout out to Caleb, man. Congrats on getting 13th. Next up, we have Dakar Taz from Chile. 10-4, 12th in the tournament. This is the second Sanduscorch that's in top 16. Very similar list. Very similar list. Now, what I notice here from his list is that he's running 1 less Reshi, but he has a Cram in here, right? And I don't know if this is necessarily needed with all the Mews running around. But you know what? Cram, definitely really good. Reshi is also really good. So maybe the 1-1 split between them is very good. But everything else, very, very similar. And he also has a Giratina in here instead of a Mew. So instead of going defensive, he's going a little bit more disruption. Kind of hoping that Giratina is going to be able to, work pretty often. And I think it does for the most part. A lot of people probably, were running Corviknight tonight, which is immune to Giratina. But it's probably a better option overall than running fans in your deck. Other than that, I don't know anything else that's too much different with the list. Now that I'm looking at it, there might be like one extra card that I'm missing that was placed somewhere here. Maybe it's another stamp. I honestly forget. I really don't remember. But yeah, this is Senti. This is what Senti looks like. It's still a very powerful deck in the format right now. As long as Welder's around, Senti's going to be very, very good. And I think for that reason, people are still going to be playing it. And I'm not surprised that we did see 2 of them in top 16. So there you go. Those are the 2 Senti lists of our tournament. Shout out to Dacker Taz there. Dacker Taz. Very, very cool. Okay, next up, we're going to get into some newer stuff, which is definitely pretty interesting, although we did start with something newer. But we're going to be taking a look at Zekro here, 11th in the tournament from Chile, 11-3, and he was playing Victini VMAX. Now, Victini VMAX came out in Battle Styles, an extremely efficient attacker, one of the best attackers in the game. And what you'll see here is this is almost the exact same list as Centiskorch, except with Victini thrown in there. And I think that it's very viable to do this, to run a deck like this. They're very they're very similar lists. They go together extremely well. It all kind of makes sense, except Victini really is all about efficiently 2-hit KOing most Pokemon in the format, if not all Pokemon in the format. Centiskorch is about that potential to one-shot stuff, a little bit mid or late game. But Victini VMAX, I mean, it's very, very good. We did see 2 of them higher than the 2 Centiskorches. I'm not sure if that really means anything. But one thing to notice with this list is we do see Heatran GX, which is a bit interesting. I don't know if it's as viable in Victini as it would be in Senti, since we're really kind of piling energies on to our Centiskorch VMAX. With Victini, we don't really need to do that as much. But still running 4 Welder. Now, one thing you'll notice is he's running 4 Boss in the deck. I do think that Victini is Boss's Orders is much more important in Victini than it is in Centiskorch, because Victini does 220 to V and VMAX Pokemon, right? And it kind of can struggle against the tag teams. And we only have 1 Reshiram in the deck, 1 Cram, 1 Heatran. So for the most part, Victini is going to be our primary attacking option, but we want to focus on attacking those V and VMAX Pokemon. And for that reason, I think that running 4 Boss is very good on top of the Great Catcher and the Eldegoss. But other than that, the list is very, very similar. Very similar for sure. I like it a lot. Victini VMAX, it's very good. We're going to be seeing a lot more Victini VMAX in the format. I think it's just one of the best decks in the format right now that we have. Definitely one of the best Welder decks. It's funny, it doesn't really feel like a Welder deck, but it is, and it has all the benefits of a Welder deck. The thing with Victini is overall it's going to be a more consistent list, just because you'd only need the 2 energies. So even if you're whiffing Welder, you're probably just going to be able to manually attach, and no matter what, turn 2, get a nice max victory off. So definitely super cool. I think that if you don't have a chance to build Victini, you should. You should have everything you need to build the deck already if you were already playing Welder decks. You just need the 3-3 Victini lineup, and Victini V, the better one at least, was already out in base set. So you really just need 3 cards and you're able to build this list. So I highly suggest, playing this in the next tournament. It's a very, very good option, and probably, a top contender in our new format. So I'm not surprised to see it this high up on the list. Big shout out to Zekro. Congrats, bro. 11th out of 400, not bad at all. Next up, we have Sean Pluto playing straight Dragonbolt. Dragonbolts have kind of been an enigma right now in the format. I said it for a while. I knew it was going to be one of the best decks going forward into this Battle Styles format. However, as you can see here, there's a lot of different ways that people have played Dragonbolt. This is kind of one option that popped up recently in one Hexter's earlier this week. And this is Green's Dragonbolt with Omastar handlock, or with item lock. So it's absolutely ridiculous. It's such a strange deck, but Dragonbolt with greens actually makes a lot of sense, just because you can consistently get those disruption cards as well as those setup cards from the Omastar. We have Power Plant, which shuts off GX Pokemon, so it can help again the Mewtwo matchup. Can turn off your opponent's Urshifu's Jirachi GX on their bench. Can turn off Dedenne, so they can't play Dedennes against Blacephalon. You can turn off their Oricorios. It's a very, very good card, and I definitely recommend playing Power Plant in the list. And even not greens, even just straight Jirachi Engine Dragonbolt, people are still playing greens in the list because it's very powerful right now. The Omastar, of course, it's just really funny. It's just a card that can lock your opponent down. If you're behind on prize cards, I think, or if you have, I kind of forget the exact wording of it, but a very disruptive card for sure. Easily setupable with greens. You can search for the cards that you need, either the fossil, the candy, the evolution incense, whatever it might be. So definitely pretty cool. You'll see in this deck there's a lot of lower counts of cards, right? We have a 1 of fossil, 1 of quick ball, only 2 evolution incense, 2 fans, 2 spinners. one switch, one rare candy, because all those cards are just searchable with greens, right? So you don't necessarily need to run a high count of them to draw into them, right, for consistency reasons. So that's something interesting to note. But it is running a higher energy count because we don't necessarily want to be greensing for like spinner to find our energy. We want to just have that. We want to be drawing into our energy, and at the same time, we want to have that energy turn 1, right? We really do, because there's no real pivot option if we're going first to get that consistent attachment to Dragapult. So definitely running a higher kind of energy, 12 in the deck to be exact, and I think that's about pretty accurate. We are running 4 hammers and 2 fans. Disruption, energy denial is very important in the list. We have XP share, which conserves our energy, which is important for sure. And yeah, I mean, the supporter lineup, 4 greens, 4 research, 2 boss, and 2 builds analysis, which is definitely pretty funny. So yeah, this list is interesting. Personally, do I think it's the best way to play Dragapult right now? Probably not. I think it got a lot of hype because it did win that Hexter's tournament. Kind of an awkward pick. But sometimes that happens in some of these bigger tournaments. Just a strange deck wins and people start playing it. I don't think it's bad. I think inherently Dragapult's very good in the format. But do I think that it's worth playing over other archetypes? Probably not. I could be proven wrong. Maybe the Omastar is busted. Maybe just the greens, searching out the hammers and the fans is busted. But I don't know. Greens Dragapult, it's definitely interesting. I personally like the scoop up Jirachi engine. I think that the Urshifu Dragapult hybrid deck is also pretty busted, but Green's Dragapult has seen a lot of success as well in this first week of Battle Style. So who am I to say? I don't know. I just love seeing Dragapult in the format right now. It's definitely a big contender in the format. So I think the next Dragapult list we'll see is going to be a different one. So definitely pretty interesting. But big shout out to Sean Pluto, 10th in the tournament out of 400 with Dragonbolt VMAX. Man, I love the new format. Next up, we have Gustavo Wada from Brazil. One of our 4 Brazilians that almost made top 8 here. 9th in the tournament, 11th and 3. He is our highest placing Victini VMAX. And let's take a look at his list. And this list is funny. This is super, super funny. So this is kind of the newer take on like Silvally engine Centiskorch, except instead of Silvally, you have Kricketune. And instead of Centiskorch, we have Victini VMAX. So you can kind of see how this deck would make a lot of sense in some ways. It's, again, a very consistent list. It's stamp-proof to some effect. We're running the air balloons because Kricketune is a very good pivot. If we have like one or like very low cards in our hand, we can always, if something gets KO'd, we can always go into Kricketune, air balloon, draw up till we have 4, and then just free retreat out into an attacker. So it's a very good card for consistency reasons. And I think that this list is super, super interesting. It's awesome to see that this is our highest placing Victini VMAX. This list is absolutely awesome. And it's just cool how things have evolved, right? I mean, in theory, it's very similar to Silvally Centiskorch. It's just different. It's just with different cards. But everything in here is pretty awesome. I do like the 3 escape rope on top of the 3 switch, 4 boss, so tons of gusting options, which like I said is very important when you're playing Victini VMAX. 2 Fan of Waves as well instead of a Giratina, which is also an interesting option. I think it was a good meta call for the amount of Corviknights that were potentially going to be in the tournament. And another thing that's interesting for me is there's only 3 Welders and 3 Research, which I think is really funny because Victini doesn't actually focus too much on Research. Or sorry, on Welder, right? You don't need it as much as you do in Centiskorch. So why not run 3 and 3 Research, which overall is a better card for consistency reasons? Why not? It's pretty smart, right? This list is actually really, really funny. It's a list that I might build, and maybe I'll make a video on it in the future if it starts to see some more success. But if this turns out to be the best way to play Victini VMAX, I am going to be just I'm going to be a very happy customer because this is a very cool deck list for sure. 1 heat energy as well in here. Gustavo Wada, bro, he is just on another level. He's just doing things that I would never have ever thought of doing. Kricketune V, it's definitely a good card. Definitely a good card. One of the best pivots in the game. So I like this list a whole lot. I really do. Shout out to Gustavo Wada. Probably are the most interesting list that we've seen so far. I mean, the greens Pulse in that Victini list, like this format is looking pretty interesting. However, next up into our top 8, we have Caropon from Japan. And 8th in our tournament, made top 8 with Lapras VMAX. This was like the ultimate meta call in my opinion because Welder was the most played archetype, right? I mean, between Welder Mewtwo, between Centiskorch, Victini, Blounds, whatever it might be, Lapras VMAX definitely has a pretty good matchup against those decks. Also just has KO potential and massive damage potential, right? It's a bulky Pokemon that kind of like Centiskorch does more damage the more energy that's attached to it, right? So it definitely has potential, and he made it work, man. 8th in the tournament. Let's take a look at Caropon's Lapras VMAX list. Okay, all right. We got a 3-3 lineup of Lapras, 3-2 lineup of Frostmoth. That's kind of the combo. We're going to want to consistently put energies on our Lapras with Frostmoth. For sure, we got 2 Crobats, 2 Dedenes for draw support consistency. 1 Mew as well. Protect your Frostmoths, guys. Definitely important to run the Mew. And then a Keldeo GX, which is a very good card in the list. Kind of can stall and sometimes wall our opponent in some matchups and can kind of buy us time to set up our Lapras. So very, very important for sure. And that's just the Pokemon lineup. It's just a basic Frostmoth Lapras, but this deck list has a ton of potential. We have now Level Ball in our format to consistently find our Snoms and our Frostmoths. So I think that Lapras VMAX deserves more respect. I think that this card is very good. Probably right now might be our best water type attacking or attacker option, or our best water type archetype in the game right now. Some people are playing Inteleon, some people were playing Blastoise. I do think Lapras overall is the best one that we have. So definitely super cool to see it make top 8. One of the highlights of this tournament, in my opinion. But the Level Ball, yeah, super consistently search out your Snoms and your Frostmoths and your Mew as well. So definitely a very good inclusion. We got 4 Capacious Buckets to search our deck for water energies, put them into our hand so we can use the Frostmoth for sure. 2 Air Balloons because Frostmoth is a good pivot. If something gets KO'd, we like to move into Frostmoth and then use the ability, fill up our bench with energies, and then switch into those Pokemon. We got 4 Research, 3 Boss, 3 Marnie, pretty standard supporter lineup, 4 Quick Balls, and 2 Pokecoms on top of the 3 Level Balls. So definitely a lot of consistent Pokemon search in the deck. I think that's important. Only 2 Switches on top of the 2 Air Balloons. I think that's probably fine. And then we have 1 Great Catcher, 2 Training Courts as well to consistently get those energies out of the discard pile back into our hand. Definitely a really, really good inclusion in any Frostmoth deck for sure. And then 13 water energies in total. So it's nothing like crazy, like, right? It's just something that you might expect to see if somebody were to play Lapras right now. This is probably what you would expect, except it performed much better than I think people realized. And I think people are sleeping on Lapras VMAX. You definitely should try to play this list. It is very, very good. Big shout out to Carapon, kind of taking these water decks to the top of the format. I think that it was only time. Well, is this something that we'll see all the time in these big tournaments? I don't know, but definitely amazing to see Lapras VMAX make top 8 at this tournament. So super big shout out to Carapon. I love to see it. Next up, we have Gabriel Semedo, another Brazilian here in the top echelon of the tournament, 7th, 11th, 3-1. Playing Dragonbolt. So this was our highest placing Dragonbolt in the tournament, 7th out of 400. We're going to take a look at his list. Now, this is the Jirachi Scoop Up Net Engine version of Dragonbolt, and this is my opinion the best way to play Dragonbolt VMAX. Jirachi Engine, it's just super consistent. You can incorporate things like Goons in there. We can incorporate Giratina, Mewtwo, so there's just a lot of different options, as well as, giving the list a little bit more of a fast-paced consistency, sort of feel to it. So we have a 3-3 lineup of Dragonbolt, 4 Jirachis, 1 Crobat as our kind of draw option. We're not running Dedenne because we do have 2 Power Plants in here. We got the Goon as well, which with the Scoop Up Nets can, of course, increase our damage spread potential. We have 1 Blacephalon from Cosmic Eclipse, which I think is very interesting. It's a very interesting, single prize attacker in the list. I don't know if it's better than playing like Mimikyu V, but it's definitely cool. It's definitely cool. I've seen it pretty often. I just don't know personally if it is worth running in the list, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. That's the Pokemon lineup. Pretty standard supporter lineup again. 4 Marnie, 3 Research, 2 Boss. We got 4 Quick Balls, 3 Pokecoms, so plenty of Pokemon search. 4 Scoop Up Nets, 4 Crushing Hammers, 3 Switches, 2 E-Spinners, 2 Stamps, and 1 Fan of Waves on top of an Escape Rope in here, and 2 XP Shares. Everyone's running XP Share in Dragonbolt. I do think XP Share is pretty good. As far as tool cards goes, it's a very good consistency option. It's just there to conserve your energies, and with all the hammers going around, all the fans, a lot of times Dragonbolt can be put in a position where you just run out of energies when one gets KO'd. You don't have enough. So this is definitely going to help with that, right? This is definitely going to help with that. XP Share, definitely very good in the deck. I love to see it. And then 2 Power Plants, like I said, to kind of stop all those GX Pokemon, those Jirachis. And it's big in Dragonbolt because you're hitting for weakness on Urshifus, so you definitely don't want their Jirachi GX to get in the way of that. Power Plant's definitely going to be good for that for sure. 8 energies in total, so not a whole lot of energies. We do have 2 E-Spinners, which is searchable with Jirachi, which gives, again, this list a bit more consistency. It's a little bit interesting. 8 energies, 5 basics, and 4 horror, so he's going a little bit lower count on the horror energies. I'm not even sure if horror is worth it with how many fans are in the format right now, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. Who knows? This is, in my opinion, the best way to play Dragonbolt. You can change the things out, but this is the skeleton, the Jirachi Scoop Up Net Engine. Extremely, extremely good. Tons of disruption here, a lot of consistency, and Dragonbolt just overall one of the best attackers in the game, one of the most efficient attackers in the game for sure, and a lot of flexibility with this list, so I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I'm just really excited to see that Dragapult is back to being at the top of the format. I would have loved to see it win. You know, I'm biased. I wish Dragapult won. I'll say it right now. Next up, though, we have Vaughn here. Vaughn Ocean. Vaughn O'Brien, I think his name is. I don't know. But from the U.S., 11-3-1, my good guy Vaughn here, Chill Series admin, 6th out of 400 in the tournament playing ADP Zacian. Now, Vaughn, Gabe Smart, Zach Lesage, a lot of my good friends, a lot of great players, all kind of got together and decided to play the same ADP list, and this is, or a very similar ADP list at least. So this is what we're rocking with. We don't see a Mewtwo in here, which is something to note. I don't know if Mewtwo is necessarily needed, but it does seem very good in the list. But in place of that, we do still have Mawile in here. We've got Empoleon in here. For, you know, those pesky welder decks for sure with the ADP boost, like I said, one-shotting stuff. And now what you'll see here is 4 escape ropes in the deck. No switching cards, just 4 escape ropes on top of 4 boss and 1 great catcher. So a lot of different gusting options. I think escape rope makes ADP that much better. We still have Rusted Sword in here. We still have Air Balloon in here. Chaotic Swell, the 8-3 energy lineup. 2 spinners, 4 E-Switch, everything that you would expect here. 4 boss, 4 research, only 1 Marnie, but 4 Cherish Balls up in here with 3 Dedennes. I think that this list is extremely, extremely good. Probably the best, most consistent way to play ADP right now. I think that, you know, if you're running a list like this, maybe Mewtwo can be incorporated somehow. But I do think that Mawile is very good. And after seeing Decidueye win this tournament, spoilers, I don't know if you just saw it while we were scrolling through, but I think double Mawile might be needed. Or, you know, it just depends, right? I don't know. Maybe Decidueye will drop back off. But ADPization, I mean, this is the new version of it, realistically. Maybe you'll see Empoleon in the list. Maybe you'll see Mewtwo in the list. But for the most part, I think you're going to see these escape ropes, these rusted swords. Just absolute craziness with ADP here. Big shout out to Vaughn for getting 6th in the tournament. His ADP list was insane. Next up, we're going to look at Christian Hodas, I don't know. He's from Slovakia, and he was playing Mew3 Welder. Mew3 is also making a comeback too. Mew3 Welder, just one of the most powerful lists that we have in the game. I'm not going to, you know, spend too much time covering this thing because, like I said, I didn't even need to click that, did I? Okay, and like I said, it's been around for a while. There's nothing too different here. We do have a couple of escape ropes in here. Yeah, that's literally the only like new card in the list, but it's Mew3 Welder. You're hitting super effective against Urshifu. You're also a welder deck at the same time. You have crazy damage potential. Scoop up net Jirachi engine for consistency. You know, 2 Crobats, 2 Dedennes. It's a welder deck. You get boss. You got 2 stamps in here. You got the hearths. You got everything you need. There's really nothing I can really say about this. Like, between the Reshi, the Charizard GX, the Incineroar GX, and the Heatran GX, you just have so many options to do crazy damage potential at a very fast pace between the welders and the attachments and things like that. So this list is gross. It's really good. I think that Welder Mewtwo should see more play. I think that it's got a very good position right now in the meta, personally. But again, it does kind of struggle a little bit with Dragapult. Keep that in mind. Yeah. It's insane. I think if you're playing Mewtwo lists these days, maybe you run Jirachi GX as well. But the thing is, you don't really want to because then it kind of eliminates the psychic weakness for both players. So you can't actually hit Urshifu for psychic weakness. So maybe you don't, right? Maybe you don't. But definitely interesting for sure. This is Welder Mewtwo. We've seen it before. This was actually the list that won our first ever Chill Series tournament, the OG Chill Series. So nice to see it make a comeback in the format right now. It's been a long time, but this deck is still kicking, and it's still one of the best decks in our format right now, or at least it is now. Once again that Battle Styles has come out, so definitely pretty sweet, man. I love Welder Mewtwo. It's a very fun list. Next up, we have Josh Parks here from Great Britain. Went 12-4 playing ADP. Let's take a look at his ADP list and see what we are rocking with this. Yeah, so this is this has a little bit of everything. Everything new. So we do have 2 escape ropes in here. We've got the Mew3 GX. We got the Empoleon V. We even have a Skyline in here. And what did he cut for the Skyla? Maybe an E-Switch. But yeah, I mean, this is, you know, maybe minus the Skyla, add another E-Switch. This is exactly what I might be running in ADP right now. Personally. I think that this list is gross. It's absolutely insane. Super consistent, super, insane with its potential. I might cut another card in here. Maybe I would cut Stamp and add a 3rd Dedenne if it were me. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this is the new skeleton for ADP, and we know that this deck has been good in the past. We know that it's only going to get better as time goes on. I think that this list is just absolutely insane, and I think that ADP will continue to be probably one of the most successful and the most played decks in our format now. That the format has shifted. It's got an escape rope. It's implemented things like Empoleon Mew3. I just think that ADP is insane. It's actually insane, guys. It's actually absolutely insane. And we're going to take a look at our highest placing ADP of the tournament. 3rd here, Gabe Shumway at 12-4 playing ADP. This is probably going to be a very similar list to Vaughn's list, I would think. Yeah, so it's the exact same 60, which, like I said, is we're all kind of part of that group. I didn't play, of course, but my friends that I hang out with consistently are all part of the group there, and they do extremely, extremely well. I suggest if you're playing ADP, you play this list. This is, it's tried and true. I mean, it's proven here. Of course, these are great players, but like this ADP list performed, and I think the 4 Escape Rope, the Apollyon, and definitely keep the Mawile in there. Max consistency ADP, man, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane, man. I just expect to see even more ADP next week at Chill number 25, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, guys, for sure. For sure. All right. Shout out to Gabe Shumway, man, 3rd in the tournament. And then next up, we have, the old classics. Augusto Berenjour, 2nd here. Eternatus VMAX. Still somehow making its way to Chill Series. But thankfully, we did have Rogério Bombardelli here from Brazil as well, who was playing Decidueye, which stopped, luckily, E-Turn from winning. It's like 100th Chill Series tournament. I'm just happy E-Turn didn't win. Sorry, Augusto. I love you, but I don't want E-Turn to win another tournament. So instead, we had Desi win. Let's take a look at Augusto's. List. So I mean, it's pretty just it's very standard E-Turn hammers. Except now that Urshifu's are around, we are running 3 Weakness Guard energies, which is gross. I just don't think that Urshifu's are really prepped for Weakness Guard E-Turn. They just didn't run Giratina or fans or anything like that, which I think that they're gonna have to now. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely ridiculous for sure. And we even have a Phoebe in there as well. I mean, he was playing 1 Phoebe, and he did still fall to Desi in finals. You guys can watch the Grand Finals match, actually. I just posted it this morning. It's definitely a really good match. Definitely go check it out. And there'll be like a little thing above right here that you can click. If you click that little eye, it'll direct you to that. Who knows? Yeah, I think if you're going to play against Desi, you either need a 2nd Phoebe in the deck, which is a lot kind of put in to just counter that specific matchup, or you need to run less goons and more like Hoopas and Yveltals, in my opinion. Like, that's just what you need to do. Just didn't have enough to get over the Decidueye hump. But overall, right, I think the weakness guards kind of just eliminated the weakness overall because no one was really prepping for E-Turn. No one was running Energy Denial in Urshifu's, and he was just like, all right, I'm E-Turn. I'm still one of the best decks in the game right now, if not, the best. I don't care if I'm weak to fighting and everyone's playing fighting. I'm just going to win. I'm just going to beat all of you because E-Turn is gross. We need to do something about this. I'm not going to sit here for another 3 months and watch E-Turn win these tournaments. So please, for the love of gosh, don't make me ban E-Turn. Please just prep for it. Please just prep for E-Turn. Just run fans. Run Giratina in your Urshifu lists, please. I just really don't want E-Turn to start winning again. No disrespect to Augusto. He's a great player. I just cannot stand Eternatus VMAX anymore. Maybe my least favorite deck of all time. But yeah, there we go. We are not going to be looking at Rogério's, first place list. We're going to be making a separate video where we are actually interviewing Rogério tomorrow, and we're gonna get his opinions on the tournament, talk about his deck list with him, talk about his run through the tournament. So I'm super excited for that for sure. But if you guys are watching this, next week's insane. Next week Chill Series is actually insane, guys. It's gonna be ridiculous. The Filthy Goat has come to me once again, and by the grace of our Lord and Savior, the Filthy Goat, he is giving us another Tropical Beach. It's a 2011 Tropical Beach this time, and that will be given to the first place for next week's Chill Series. So, definitely go register for that. Link will be down in the description below. 2011 Tropical Beach in the prize pool for first place, as well as 200 Battle Styles booster boxes. It's going to be a nice, big, probably a 2-day event here with a nice, live stream for Top Cut. It's going to be very fun, very good. Definitely go register. I'm trying to make it the biggest Chill Series of all time, right after Chill Series 24, which already was our biggest Chill Series of all time. But that's going to be it for the video, guys. Big shout out to our channel members. You guys are the reason that we're able, to make these videos every week, run the tournaments. You guys are the best. Consider becoming a member. Click join down below. And if you're not subscribed, click subscribe. It means a lot to me. It helps everything out. Like the video, for sure. If you made it this far, it helps with the algorithm. And don't forget to play in, Chill Series tournaments every Wednesday. Link to register will be down in the description below. So yeah, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow with more videos.